one of the first social media platforms that made it possible for friends to stay in touch, no matter where they were, was MSN. But soon we would witness its dark side, just like with any great new invention. Individuals discuss dark and even illegal topics on platform, as this story demonstrates. The 18-year-old Kimberly Proctor's murder. We talk about how her killers used MSN to plan and fantasize about killing her long before they carried it out, and even to continue using the site afterward. She found school to be really difficult in large crowds and groups of people. Require a little bit more care or attention, and each child who attends that school may have different needs in this regard. As for Kim, she has ADHD. Since she was a nice, outgoing girl at the new school, she naturally got along with people. However, Kim felt that she was doing something wrong because Cruz, who was 16 and one of their friend group's youngest members, wanted to say, "I feel no sympathy for you at all. You are a horrible criminal." As it happens, though, I haven't yet brought up the fact that Cruz's father was a convicted murderer. Cruz's father was imprisoned for murder shortly after he did this, when he was 7 years old, and that's just one of Cruz's father's many horrible possessions. A brutal murder is scheduled for MSN, and believe me, a long time ago, Cruz and Cameron decided to best people. Bullies were aggressive, violent, and would beat up other students in the school. They even beat up a kid with a bike chain. It was like taking a bike chain and splitting it over his head. Skip school so that you can drink and do drugs. 2 boys were doing this as recently as Tuesday at 2:00 p.m. They were using the in-game messaging feature. However, one thing about Cameron and Cruz is that they are friends with these 3 boys, and she particularly likes Zach. Throughout the entire situation, Cameron persisted in his flirting, even saying all of this while she was still seeing Zach, and Kim didn't really cooperate. She's trying to be funny around her boyfriend's friend, but not too funny. Oh my goodness, what kind of party is limited to just 2 people? She's not outright rejecting him and turning him down, which can be intimidating for women, particularly when they feel like an empty threat. Besides, Kim hadn't exactly cheated on her boyfriend, so Kim would be treated by Cruz and Cameron as though she were their chosen girl because they had always had a thing for each other. Cruz was on the phone to Kim, even on the same phone call, but Kim has no idea that Cameron is now listening into this very personal crush start messaging, and they're kind of talking about the conversation that's being had out loud. Because of her extreme distress, she turned to all of her friends, including Cruz and Cameron, for support and guidance. However, Kim in particular was somewhat insecure, so she began acting as though she knew. "I haven't seen many beautiful things, but you're undoubtedly one of them," Cameron would reply. And it was obvious that the 2 boys had been waiting for this chance to try it on with Kim because they were pretty persistent with it. However, as I say this, Cameron Buffett had been attempting to get Kim to do this even back when she was dating Zach. Listening to these like 17-year-olds flirt on MSN is disgusting. Cameron persisted in his flirting. She's trying to be funny around her boyfriend's friend, but not too funny. Oh my goodness, what kind of party is limited to just 2 people? She's not outright rejecting him and turning him down, which can be intimidating for women, particularly when they feel like an empty threat. Besides, Kim hadn't exactly cheated on her boyfriend, so Kim would be treated by Cruz and Cameron as though she were their chosen girl, because they had always had a thing for each other. Once, in a specific transcript I came across, she would message Cruz on MSN and asked, "Why are you Cruz?" message Kim on MSN, and simply, they made the decision to kill Kimberly as soon as she said it, believing that it would serve as both boys' cue to begin killing their friend Kim. The boys continued talking about robbing her in the messages. Kim was completely unaware that Cruz had no intention of doing that. She informed him that she was watching her mother and would need to return home at 3 o'clock. He said that was perfectly okay, and that he just wanted to chat to her, so it would. The boys then proceeded to rape Kimberly Proctor alternately. Kim was still bound, gagged, and tied at the wrists and ankles when the boys grabbed her. Later, when the boys opened that freezer, they discovered Kimberly Proctor dead inside. I'm not sure how long it took her to actually pass away inside that freezer, or when they found out she was dead, but at some point the boys, Cruz in particular, made her say, "Oh no, I can't tonight," and she thanked God because we never know what might have happened to the other girl. Talking about how they were going to dispose of Kim's body in order to try and escape punishment for the murder. The following morning, they entered the garage, took the hockey bag, and loaded Kim's lifeless body inside, all while keeping you completely in the dark. All that would be happening to you would be a dead body, a murderer, and the person who killed them. Thus, they removed the bag down there, while Kim's body was still there. That day, the boys thought they had cleared all the evidence and went on to enjoy the rest of their lives, as if they hadn't just killed a helpless little girl. They left the galloping goose trail. Cruz truly went to meet with a girl, and the boys knew that a search was already in progress to locate Kim Proctor, because the day after Kim went missing, her body was discovered, but it wasn't recognized as Kim Proctor's. When Kim was first reported missing, and then when. Up until this point, authorities never truly acknowledged Cruz and Cameron's. That's how things currently appeared. Nevertheless, the boys were eventually apprehended by the police because of something that happened one specific night when Cruz messaged his girlfriend. He said, "I have something to tell you." But she responded, "Look, thank you for telling me this. I'm sticking by a side note." Even though they have already been charged with the murders, the police are still looking for any more small pieces of evidence in case they need to bring the case to trial. Cameron was told by Cruz about his interrogations, saying things like, "Oh, you're so good at manipulating and how smart they think I am." They were really proud of the entire situation, you know. It was obvious that the police were saying all of that to boost their egos and make them feel good, even though they were still being told by Cruz. I laughed at about half of what they said and grinned broadly while I sat there. In this instance, the police's only remaining task was to compile all of their evidence and ensure that they had a solid case against these boys. As they gather all the evidence for this case, they will eventually discover something that goes way back in time. Cameron and Cruz would have become exactly what they wanted to be if they had not been caught for Kim Proctor's murder. I think that if they had not been caught, they would not have felt anything in the lead up to, during, or after the murder. For example, gathering all the evidence for this case and eventually discovering something far back in will tell. For example, gathering all the evidence for this case and eventually discovering something far back in will tell. Finally, I would like to say thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so that we can continue to provide content.